Imagine this. Army Sergeant Quentin Riston, serving in a dust-choked valley halfway across the world, putting his life on the line every single day. While he's doing that, back home in Texas, his homeowners association, or HOA, quietly sold the ranch his great-grandfather built way back in 1936. Can you believe it? They didn't just sell it, they stole it. They did it with nothing more than a single sheet of paper, a blatantly fake late fee ledger, and a hushed-up Tuesday auction. Quentin came home, expecting a hero's welcome, maybe just a quiet reunion with his own bed. Instead, he found a strange family's SUV in his driveway, a kid swing he didn't recognize hanging from his old oak tree, and a cold, impersonal letter ordering him to vacate the premises within 72 hours. It was a gut punch. They thought a deployed soldier was an easy mark, a convenient target. They figured he'd be too far away, too busy, too tired to fight back. They were about to learn, in the most spectacular way possible, just how terribly, utterly wrong they were. This isn't just a story, it's a warning. The homecoming. Quentin stepped off the transport jet at Fort Hood, his boots heavy with the dust of Afghanistan, his mind already drifting to the familiar comfort of his ranch. He was expecting a parade field hug from his family, maybe a cold beer. Instead, his neighbor Marisol met him, her eyes fixed on the asphalt, her voice barely a whisper. "Quentin," she said, her tone urgent. "You need to see the ranch. Right now." He chuckled honestly. He figured a burst pipe, maybe some squatters who'd gotten a little too comfortable. Nothing he couldn't handle after 11 months overseas. But as he turned onto County Road 1103, a cold dread began to settle in his stomach. The gate that had proudly borne his family brand for 4 generations, the very symbol of their legacy, had been repainted. Stark, black letters now screamed, "Private property, no trespassing." His heart hammered against his ribs. He knew, instantly, that something was terribly, irrevocably wrong. He knocked, a hesitant rap on what should have been his own front door. A stranger, phone already in hand, cracked it open, clearly dialing the sheriff. Quentin's duffel bag, packed with the weight of his service, hit the porch like a sandbag, the sound echoing the sudden emptiness in his chest. 11 months battling insurgents in Afghanistan, 11 years diligently making mortgage payments, every single HOA dues check cashed on time. Yet somehow, his ancestral land had been legally auctioned off for the paltry sum of $847. The new owner? A shadowy shell company, its registered address tracing directly back to the HOA president's own brother-in-law. The corruption was almost brazen. That night, Quentin didn't sleep in his own bed. He slept in his truck, parked just down the road, staring up at the same Texas stars he'd sworn to protect under a flag now folded, almost mockingly, in his glove box. The irony was a bitter taste in his mouth. The paper trail. Monday morning, fueled by a potent mix of disbelief and righteous anger, Quentin barged into the association office. He was still wearing his desert camo boots, the grit of deployment still clinging to him. The secretary, a woman who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else, slid a folder across the counter. Inside, a single, damning line item. Landscaping violation recurring. Dated just 2 weeks after he'd shipped out. Seriously? Landscaping? The fines, he learned, had doubled every 30 days, compounded by ever-increasing legal administration fees, until the supposed lien magically equaled the market value of his entire home. Texas law, they smugly informed him, allows an HOA to foreclose once dues hit 90 days late. It sounds legal, right? Here's the catch, the crucial piece of the puzzle. Federal law, specifically the Service Members Civil Relief Act, or SCRA, completely freezes any civil action against deployed troops. It's a protection put in place precisely for situations like this. Quentin's JAG officer, a sharp legal mind from the Army, faxed a concise, 1-page letter detailing Quentin's protected status. That should have been the end of the nightmare. But the HOA wasn't done. They responded by hiring a high-priced private attorney who, with a straight face, claimed the lien was merely pre-foreclosure administrative action, not an actual lawsuit. Therefore, they argued, the SCRA freeze didn't apply. It was a thinly veiled, cynical loophole designed to exploit and steal. This allowed them to schedule the courthouse steps auction while Quentin was on night patrol, dodging RPGs and IEDs, utterly unaware his home was being snatched away. One signature from a complicit board president, one nod from a shady notary, and Quentin's family ranch was gone. Just like that. The wall of silence. Quentin, now a man on a mission, started digging. He requested the full accounting ledgers, hoping to unravel their twisted financial scheme. They finally mailed him password-protected files, which, wouldn't you know it, mysteriously expired after a mere 48 hours. Convenient, right? He asked for the meeting minutes that supposedly approved this outrageous foreclosure. The clerk, with a shrug, claimed the audio recordings were automatically overwritten. Again, incredibly convenient. He demanded the name of the bidder, the person who had profited from his family's misfortune. The board, through their counsel, responded with chilling arrogance. We are not at liberty to disclose private financial information. Every single door he tried to open slammed shut in his face, echoing the same dismissive message. You're a tenant now, Sergeant. Accept it. Your service means nothing here. The stonewalling was complete, a deliberate campaign to frustrate and defeat him. It was a calculated psychological war, and they expected him to just give up. Section 4, the lieutenant colonel who listens. But Quentin wasn't just any soldier, and he wasn't alone. His battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Maria Alvarez, a woman known for a sharp mind and even sharper sense of justice, caught wind of the situation during a routine reintegration survey. She'd seen plenty of soldiers return home to find their cars repossessed or their credit ratings in tatters. But never, not once, had she encountered a case where an entire generational homestead had been stolen out from under a deployed service member. This wasn't just a personal injustice. It was an affront to the entire military family. LTC Alvarez didn't waste a second. She made 2 critical calls, one to the base legal office, her voice firm and clear, and another to a trusted friend at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Texas. By Friday, the Army had officially opened a civil military fraud file, ominously labeled Operation Homestead. This wasn't just Quentin's fight anymore, it was the Army's fight. Federal agents, now armed with subpoenas, began tearing through bank records, sifting through emails, and even demanded the county clerk's tape of the auction. What they uncovered was a horrifying, systematic pattern. The same scheme repeated across 12 other properties. Deploy a soldier, manufacture a bogus violation, stack on exorbitant fees, rush a quiet auction, then flip the property to an insider LLC. It was a calculated criminal enterprise. 11 of those 12 soldiers, broken by the system, too broke, too traumatized, or simply too busy trying to survive, never fought back. They just lost everything. Quentin, they thought, would be the 12th, but they had profoundly misjudged him. He was not going to be the quiet one. Not now, not ever. The counterstrike. The Army's Consumer Law Division, a formidable force, didn't pull any punches. They filed a federal complaint that hit like a legal artillery strike. It cited a blatant breach of the SCRA, conspiracy to commit mail fraud, because, of course, they'd used the mail for their fake notices and unlawful conversion of government-protected property. The implications were massive. They froze every single asset tied to the HOA board members, 6 houses, 3 luxury boats, 2 beach condos, and 1 very flashy, vintage Corvette. It was a swift, decisive move that sent a clear message. The game was over. The U.S. Attorney, seeing the depth of the corruption, tacked on criminal forfeiture counts. This meant anything purchased with illicit proceeds, anything bought with the money stolen from these soldiers, could be seized by the government. Meanwhile, Quentin's ranch itself was slapped with a federal lease pendens, a legal notice that effectively blocked any sale or transfer until the rightful ownership could be untangled. The new owners, the brother-in-law's shell company, tried to rent out the ranch, hoping to squeeze some profit from their ill-gotten gains. That's when the FBI paid them a rather unwelcome visit, patiently explaining the very serious meaning of receipt of stolen property. They moved out within a week, leaving behind a pathetic plastic toddler slide and a hastily scribbled note. We didn't know. A flimsy excuse, and one that wouldn't hold up in court. Showdown at the pavilion. The HOA's monthly meeting that April felt less like a community gathering and more like a public tribunal. 50 homeowners, their faces etched with a simmering rage, packed the community pavilion, armed with folding chairs and an undeniable sense of betrayal. The 5-member board sat stiffly at a flimsy plastic banquet table, the president gripping his gavel like a lifeline, pretending nothing out of the ordinary was happening. They were in for a rude awakening. Then Quinn walked in, not in his fatigues, but in his crisp dress blues. Campaign ribbons stacked like a visual warning on his chest. Every eye in the room turned to him. He didn't speak at first. He simply walked to the table, his movements deliberate, and set a single, thick envelope down with a soft thud that somehow resonated through the silence. Inside, damning color printouts of the fraudulent ledgers, laid side by side with his official deployment orders, leaving no room for doubt. And on top, the federal complaint, boldly stamp-filed. Gasps rippled through the stunned room. The president's face went ashen. One board member, clearly panicking, tried to make a break for the fire exit door, only to find 2 stone-faced military police waiting patiently on the other side. The jig was up. The vote to impeach the president passed unanimously, swiftly followed by a motion to dissolve the entire board. The gavel landed with a sharp crack, like a starter pistol on a new race, this time, to see who could lawyer up fastest and mitigate their impending doom. Justice, it seemed, was finally making an appearance. The dominoes fall. Over the next month, the carefully constructed house of cards, built by the corrupt HOA leadership, came tumbling down. Every single property the criminal ring had swallowed, every home stolen from a deployed soldier, came tumbling back. The flashy vintage Corvette, a symbol of their ill-gotten wealth, was unceremoniously towed to a federal impound lot. The luxurious beach condos, once their private retreats, were listed for government auction, with every single penny of the proceeds earmarked for victim restitution. The ex-president, his arrogance completely shattered, eventually pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy. He faced a grim 37 months in federal prison, plus a hefty $250,000 fine. But the judge, with a touch of poetic justice, added a symbolic kick to the sentence. He must spend the first year of his probation serving community landscaping, mowing the yards of veterans' homes, no power tools allowed, just an old-fashioned push mower. A fitting, humbling punishment for the man who tried to steal the land of those who served. Quentin sat in the courtroom gallery, fingers laced, a quiet observer. He watched the man who stole his past, who tried to erase his family's legacy, push imaginary grass in the air with invisible handles. Justice, he realized, can indeed be beautifully poetic. Reclaiming home. On Memorial Day weekend, a day steeped in reflection and remembrance, Quentin finally walked through his own front door. The air inside still smelled faintly of pine cleaner, a lingering scent, almost as if someone had tried to scrub away the evidence of strangers, to erase the memory of their trespass. He moved slowly, deliberately, opening every cabinet, every closet, like he was shaking hands with old, cherished friends, reassuring himself that his world was truly his again. In the attic, tucked away in a corner, he found his grandfather's footlocker, miraculously intact. Inside, carefully folded, was a 48 star flag, a relic from a different era, and a faded black and white photo of the ranch raising in '36, a testament to generations of hard work and dreams. He took the flag out, holding it to the window light, its aged fabric catching the sun. In that moment, he realized something profound. This house, this ranch, was never just lumber and nails, never just dirt and fences. It was a promise kept across 4 generations, a legacy he had almost lost, but now held tighter than ever. That night, under the vast Texas sky, he grilled ribeyes on the porch, the sizzle of the meat sounding, to his ears, like a 21-gun salute. A salute to every sleepless night he'd spent in the cab of his truck, staring at those same stars. A salute to the fight he'd won. The flavors, the sounds, the quiet comfort, it all tasted like home. Paying it forward. Word travels fast. especially in military circles. Quentin's story, a beacon of hope and resilience, spread like wildfire. Soon, emails started pouring in. A Marine in California whose condo board had brazenly forged his signature. An Air Force nurse in Delaware facing a surprise lien she knew nothing about. A retired Navy chief whose beloved cabin had vanished under an HOA's bogus claim of eminent domain. The pattern was sickeningly familiar, and the victims countless. Quentin, now with a new mission, partnered with two brilliant JAG attorneys. Together, they founded a nonprofit called Shielded Homes. Their goal? To protect those who protect us. They draft SCRA compliance letters, cutting through bureaucratic red tape. They host free legal clinics, offering guidance and hope. And they maintain a 24-hour hotline, a lifeline for service members caught in the same predatory traps. To date, Shielded Homes has blocked or reversed an incredible 112 illegal foreclosures in 23 states. It's a testament to what one person, standing up for what's right, can achieve. Quentin keeps a meticulous tally on a whiteboard in the old horse stable he's converted into his new office. Every time they save a house, every time they protect a military family from this kind of theft, he adds a tiny green magnet, shaped like a ranch gate. The board, once bare, is now starting to look like a vibrant field of sprouting hope, a visual representation of every life they've touched, every home they've saved. The Army takes the final step. The initial actions against the HOA board members were significant, but the Army wasn't finished. Because the HOA fraud network had, in their greed, used federal wire transfers to move their illicit funds, the Army invoked a rarely used, but incredibly powerful, clause of the SCRA: civil forfeiture against any property purchased with illicit proceeds. The translation is simple and devastating for the perpetrators. If you bought a house, a car, anything, with money stolen from a deployed soldier, the Army can seize it. Period. They didn't stop at the condos and boats. Oh no. They traced laundered cash, following the intricate financial trails, all the way to a massive 400-lot subdivision the ex-president was quietly developing 2 counties over. It was his ultimate dream, built on the backs of unsuspecting service members. In one morning, military investigators posted eminent domain signs on every unfinished cul-de-sac, every half-built foundation. Construction halted abruptly. Lenders balked, pulling their funding. Investors, who thought they were getting a sweet deal, lost their entire deposits. The headlines, when they broke, wrote themselves: Army seizes entire neighborhood built on soldiers' backs. For once, the fine print, the rarely used clause, worked not for the powerful, but for the little guy, for the soldiers who had given so much. If you believe, truly believe, that our soldiers deserve to come home to more than just a folded flag and a lawyer's voicemail, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and drop a salute emoji in the comments. Stories like Quentin's only see the light of day, only spark change when we share them far and wide. So smash that share button, spread this message, and tag someone who loves justice with the fiery passion of 1,000 Texas sunsets. Let's make sure this kind of injustice never happens again. Reflection. Even now, years later, Quentin still wakes before dawn. It's a habit ingrained from years of stand-to. That moment before sunrise when soldiers are most vigilant. He brews his coffee, black and strong, then steps onto the porch, watching the horizon blush with the first hints of a new day. He tells me the ranch feels bigger now, not in acres, not in physical size, but in its purpose, in its meaning. Every time another veteran calls the Shielded Homes hotline, his voice cracking with desperation, Quentin hears the echo of his own voice, the night he slept in the cab of his truck, utterly lost and betrayed. He can't undo that memory, that profound sense of violation, but he can, and he does, prevent other families from ever having to make one of their own. Service, he says, doesn't stop when you take off the uniform. Sometimes, it just swaps camo for courage, for resilience, for the unwavering fight for justice in a courtroom. It's a different kind of battle, but no less vital. The broader fight. Quentin's fight didn't just reclaim his home. It sparked a national movement. Texas leading the way, recently passed the groundbreaking Defend the Defenders Amendment. This critical piece of legislation dictates that any HOA attempting foreclosure against a deployed service member now faces automatic trouble damages. That's triple the original amount, plus the immediate loss of their corporate charter. It's a game changer, and the impact didn't stop in Texas. Lawmakers in Florida, North Carolina, and Colorado are actively drafting copycat bills, inspired by Quentin's story. He testified before each legislative committee in person, his uniform impeccable, his campaign ribbons a silent testament to his service, facts meticulously organized on a thumb drive. He finished every single speech with the same powerful, resonant line. If you won't protect the people who protect you, don't call it freedom, call it failure. The applause in those chambers, he admits, felt good, but not nearly as good as the feeling of texting a desperate veteran just two simple, life-changing words. You're safe. What you can do. So what can you do? It's simpler than you might think, but incredibly powerful. First, check on your neighbors, especially that quiet rental house down the street with a flag that never comes down. Ask if their HOA has slammed them with surprise fees, if they're getting sketchy notices. If they're military, active duty or reserve, send them straight to shieldedhomes.org. It could be the lifeline they desperately need. Even civilians can play a part. You can file an SCRA alert with credit bureaus. The law covers reservists and guard members on Title X orders, not just active duty. It's a simple step that offers crucial protection. And if you happen to serve on an HOA board, please remember this. You're a steward of your community, not a sheriff. You hold a position of trust. Abuse that power. Exploit those who are serving our country. And the next knock on your door might not be from a process server. It might just be from the U.S. Army. And believe me, that's a knock you don't want to hear. Last 4th of July, Quentin hosted a massive block party at the ranch. Kids chased sparklers across the very same grass, once threatened by an auction gavel, their laughter echoing through the evening air. He raised the 48-star flag, that precious relic from his attic, on a brand new cedar pole, standing at crisp attention as the national anthem played, a little crackly, from a phone speaker. Fireworks popped and burst behind distant clouds, sounding, to his ears, a little like the small arms fire he'd finally, truly left behind. When the song ended, he looked over the vibrant crowd, families, old neighbors, even strangers who had become friends through this shared journey. He looked at the home he'd fought so hard to reclaim, and said softly, his voice thick with emotion, "Welcome home." This time, he wasn't talking to himself. He was talking to everyone. He was talking to America. Stories like this, stories of betrayal and incredible resilience, only end well when we collectively decide they should. If you want more justice delivered hot and fresh, right to your feed, then hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. And tell me, in the comments below, what's the one thing you'd hate to lose while serving your country? Let's keep this vital conversation, and the accountability it demands, alive and burning bright.